Way! This is NFL Straya, I'll tell you that much. I'm your co-host, Jaymz Clements. I'm a guy. You can also see me on a bunch of other shows, including NBA Straya, back daily, I'll tell you. Here in the fancy studios, and on the other side of this here screen, it is a bloke who is in, once more, an NFC title game. By the skin of his teeth, he was puckering like you would not believe all day Sunday. It was hilarious.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jim. I don't
and then
know
all morning Monday, just the puckering. There was so much puckering going on. It is the sometimes singer in a band called The Ramshackle Army. I believe they now own Wollongong. He's my mate. He's your mate. It's Gaz. Gaz, what's going on?
I'm doing all right, Jim. Yeah, I recovered from a weekend away with our OG fanboy, Matty O. I'm going to call it fanboy, that's a bit rough. But I watched football on Sunday with Matty O while I was in Wollongong, away from the festival. And then I came back and got up at 7 a.m. to watch. I like to start my Monday morning slightly less stressed, but good result all round, I reckon.
I feel like you could have just gone with NFL Straya Legends League champion, Matty O.
Outgoing
champ.
I was, yeah. So we definitely need a trophy, because then I could have done a whole thing taking the trophy off him. But yeah, he's going to be hungrier next year, mate. He's coming back. He's got his strategy in place. But he will be seeing us down. He's already booked his tickets to come visit us at the Super Bowl, which I'm sure that we will talk about at the end of the episode. But,
just plug it now, like Super Bowl party, Catfish, Monday 10th. Let's go. We'll see you there.
Happens. Catfish guys, I'm chatting to them this afternoon. We will be knocking off, announcing everything, all that sort of jazz, getting it out there. But as we all know, we will be there live streaming, smashing tins. I'm not going to mention anything about me being any additional stress because of us potentially being in it. But, I'm going to have a good time either way.
Sure you will. Especially with the Commanders in the Soupy. Anyway, this is the Divisional Wrap show. We'll talk about that Eagles game that Gaz was just talking about in the week 2 of the playoffs wrap. We've also got some playoff questions for the year. We've got the weekly awards and the championship round picks. It's kind of a quick show. We've only got 4 games to wrap and 2 games to set up. And that's it, I think. So I guess we should bloody well just get into it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. This is episode 120 of NFL Straya. Let's go! Haha, you can't get me. Ha 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 ha. Look at this. Oh, sir, he got me really hard. Oh, geez. I was defenseless. Ah! Hi, this is Patrick Mahomes, and you're listening and watching NFL Straya. I was going to do something much more disturbing and much more not safe for work there, Gaz, but I decided not to. Ask a Texans fan, all 8 of them, how they feel about the refs in KC at the moment, and you'll be right on the path there. But either way, what a week it was, Gaz. So after a wildcard round, and what I've maintained from day bloody 1, my entire favourite weekend of football is always the divisional round, and it delivered. Wildcard round was, 5 of the 6 games were a bit rubbish.
Yep.
And then all 4 of these games were kind of sick and riveting.
In different ways.
As you say, different ways. It was awesome. So I think the biggest point, though, we have to make at the top is that the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. It's incredible.
Settle down.
They're immortal lock, right?
Oh, I have definitely, I'd be putting money on against us right now just because you have fucking locked us.
Nice.
Right?
No, I put money on KC because I'm smart 2 months ago. I'm like, it's Kansas City. They're going to screw around. They're going to look rubbish. And again, they're going to win the Super Bowl. That's just what they do. I still don't know if they're actually going to win, but it's nice having the knowledge that you've already got that one on. And then you can sort of do the rest, right? Just in case.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, I would much rather have Buffalo win this week and then win through, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, I think, so as I said, right, we've got 4 awesome games that we're going to wrap up. I think the biggest point that came out of an overarching idea of this was that in every single game, Gaz, the team that gained the most yards lost. It was absolutely ridiculous. It made no sense. But when you watch the games, each of them kind of made sense, right? Like the Texans, dumb screw-ups cost them. You see like somehow like the Lions outgaining the Commies, but the Commies just did the damn thing. It was just game after game. That's how it worked. It was very weird. So
on the flip side, there is obviously the stat of the team who made the most yards lost, but there's also the fact that the 4 teams remaining have totaled 0 turnovers in the playoffs.
I think that might be biggest thing as well. Like in each of those games, like that's kind of it, right? You can gain as many yards as you want, but if you give the other team the ball 4 times, you're probably going to lose. It's weird how that works.
Drop the ball in the end zone. Yeah. That also doesn't help.
All right. So just really quickly off the top, I mean, Kansas City is still kissed on the D by the refs. That was weird. But they are, amazingly enough, going to their 7th straight AFC title game. Not bad. Good size.
Crazy.
We knew that there was going to be one big upset this weekend. I didn't think it was going to be the Detroit game. It was. We got another number 1 seed upset. They became the second ever 15-win team to lose their first playoff game. You might remember was it the Packers in 2011? Sucked in, nerds.
And we've got the NFC North going 0-3 in the playoffs, the strongest division in football, as discussed.
I love this. It's like, the NFC North's unbeatable. This is basically just the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, there's 2 NFC East teams in the NFC title game. Of course, we nailed that one. Nailed it. Jaden Daniels is now the 6th ever rookie to make it to the championship game. That's very cool.
Wow.
And that list actually is not actually that impressive either. Like when you go through those rookies, like the best one's like Roethlisberger. And you're like, sure. Yeah. Buffalo looked pretty good. That Baltimore game, I don't know, it feels like, we'll get to that in a second, but still kind of feels like Baltimore lost that more than Buffalo really won it. But now they face KC again, which is awesome because as we all know, they've won 4 straight regular season games against the Kansas City Chiefs. They've lost 3 straight playoff games to the Kansas City Chiefs. So, yeah, not great.
No.
Either way, that's kind of it for we'll get into the game wraps and sort of break down each of them. That's the sort of overarching stuff. But really, the biggest news is the coaching gear. Ben Johnson to the Bears as of today. That's kind of cool. We also have like Aaron Glenn, so the defensive coordinator for the Lions, interviewing with the Jets and the Saints. Feels like he'll get one of those jobs at the very least. So you've still got Dallas, the Jags, the Raiders, the Saints, and the Jets open. And I believe Rex Ryan has been ruled out of the Jets, Gaz.
Oh, well, that's I haven't seen that one.
Don't know.
So when the one that weirds me out, and I know it's like kind of, related to my team, but there's a whole fucking weird link carousel thing here that's weirding me out about Kellen Moore got fired from. It wasn't like Dan Quinn where he got the opportunity to step up. He got fired from Dallas so that McCarthy could go, well, I'm just going to run my offense and I've got to prove my value. And then he went and got fired from the Chargers and then comes back and has one great season with the Eagles, who was already built for that. So, yeah, he added some motion and stuff, but is it all down to Kellen Moore? And now Jerry wants him back.
This is amazing. So the Cowboys, they've got a couple of names in mind, but Kellen Moore's at the very top of that list apparently, along with Dion.
He knows the building, he knows the room,
and it is remarkable. It's like I don't know, Kellen Moore, wunderkind. Does he bring Saquon Barkley with him? That's your entire offense, Gaz. I'm just saying. Mate. The rest of it's been rubbish. Jalen Hurts is concussed. No one knows what's going on, but your team's still going to the Super. But either way. The other little bits and bobs, Jeff Ulbrich, you might remember him as the rubbish interim head coach of the Jets. It's a soft J. Back to Atlanta as their defensive coordinator. And Lou Anarumo. So one of those sort of, memorable names, I guess. The Cincy DC is now off to Indy, which I actually kind of don't mind that. Indy, it didn't feel like their defense was at all impressive this year, but it was kind of like the only thing that kept them in some games. It was bizarre. So they just need to sort of sort that out. And that's kind of it for the minute. But what a week it was. Are there any other injuries, Gaz, that you can remember off the top of your head?
Yeah, we had one of the Commanders' offensive linemen went down and did his ACL. But the big one is that I guess Jalen Hurts had his knee caught under him, so he came out after the game and went, "I'm fine. I'll be there next week." But realistically, that's the post game press conference. Let's see what happens in the next couple of days. But we've already got Kenny Pickett with his ribs being fucked, so yeah, Jalen Hurts better get his ass into gear, because him without a knee is not great.
You might get the tap on the shoulder at this rate.
Yeah, I might be jumping in.
The Bills are also, they've got a couple of defensive injuries from the end of that game as well. It was their cornerback, Benford, who got hurt right at the end, so he's in the concussion protocol. And Kyer Elam was also basically out there. So we'll see what happens. Like, the Bills, just a couple of little kind of crummy ones, but I don't know. And as you mentioned, right, the Commanders O-lineman who did his ACL, not great. Not great timing. Just a bit shit. But either way, should we wrap some games? Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Divisional round. Wrap. He's a man of many talents, as you mate, Jim. Houston 14, Kansas City 23. Oh, the refs dogged us. You also only scored one touchdown. Houston, what are you doing? Like, isn't that almost what it all comes down to? Like, they get this bullshit roughing the passer calls. All this dumb shit happens to Houston.
Yep.
Kaimi Fairbairn also misses a bunch of fucking kicks.
Yep.
And they scored one fucking touchdown all game. I don't know. Like, you can bitch and moan and complain, and they should, because some of those reffing fucking things were horrible in that game. But they became the first team to outgain their opponent by 100 yards and not turn the ball over and still lose a playoff game. So the Texans, you're like, what more could we have done? It's like, I don't know. Fucking scored, you idiots. Just simple as that. Yeah. So Fairbairn misses a field goal, misses a PAT, then has a blocked field goal, and you're like, oh, yeah. So it feels like it was a lot more of the brutal self-inflicted fuck-ups that really sank them, and especially like gave them, especially down the stretch, right, Gaz? Like where they were kind of like, ooh, we're still kind of close. It's like, yeah, you would have been right fucking there if you hadn't done all the dumb shit early. You dummies.
100%.
So, I don't know. Poor
Texans.
Look,
I think that, and the scary thing for this game is that, for the Bills, is that Karlaftis and Chris Jones just fucking teed off in this game.
8 sacks.
They were
8 sacks.
Fucking brutal.
23 dropbacks. He was pressured on on 23 of them. It was like just insane. Like they were just right in CJ Stroud's grill the entire fucking game. Just lived in the backfield.
Yep.
And I think Stroud, look, we sort of talked about the Texans all year of like this weird sort of, they're not as good as you think. CJ Stroud was pretty fucking good in a lot of this game, right?
Yeah.
And then it felt like a couple of times when it came down to like really big moments. It was that 4th and 10, right? Where they didn't call a timeout, which I think might have been the commentating highlight of the weekend as well. Troy Aikman going, you got to call a timeout here. What are they? And just like, he just got so angry. And I was so happy because like Bucket Aikman have been this very, very good commentary team all season. They've been fantastic because Aikman just doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Yep.
He's just like, I will criticize the shit out of everybody. Fuck them. Like, I'll criticize the reps. I'll criticize the coaching. I'll criticize the QB play. I don't care. And I'm like, that's exactly how commentary fucking should be, you assholes. Yeah,
well, he had some pretty direct language to say about that, the sliding.
Oh, yeah.
Roughing the passer that obviously Mahomes went down. And on replay, that the two defenders did helmet to helmet to each other. Yeah. And then that was the tweet that's been floating around from JJ Watt, right? Like, come on, man. Like, they hit each other. What do you expect? What do you want them to do? But then there was also the flop. Like, he's not covering himself in glory, Mahomes, when there's the flopping outside. He gets slightly touched as he's running out of bounds and then just like takes a swan dive. I'm like, can't. Really?
Yeah, I think so. He's going to pop up again later because it does feel like opinion is like, it's just more of these ones. Like an opinion is slowly turning.
Yeah.
Like it's not quite the golden boy thing. It's the fucking foul baiting Trae Young, James Harden in the NBA kind of gear.
Yeah.
And people fucking hate that. And now it's happening in the NFL and you're like, you don't even have to do it too. Like you're that naturally talented. You're just being an arsehole. Yeah. But because the refs reward it, like this is it. Like it's basically, it's like, bringing up a dog or a kid. It's like you don't reward bad behavior, but if you reward the shitty actions, like what do you think they're going to do?
Oh, the same thing that, we were talking about it earlier in the season there's the flopping highlight video of Josh Allen that floats around and you don't see it. Like, it's not common that you'd go, oh, he's known for that. But when you put a whole bunch of those plays over a couple of seasons back to back, you're like, yeah, that's not great. It was a touch. It was, miss. But there's all of those things that that's what's been floating around the net over the last couple of days is how much the Texans were screwed. But then Mahomes still pulls out like that odd one, like that falling forward touchdown pass
parallel to the ground, horizontal.
Yeah, who's just like by himself at the end zone. Like, oh, how do you fucking cover that? Because you think, well, we've got Mahomes going down, and then all of a sudden the ball comes out. Like, oh fuck! Like, yeah, he's still that guy, right? But even he doesn't need it. Like 177 yards this game and a touchdown, and that was enough.
The defense was that good. Like, that was kind of it. Like, Stroud ends up at 245, but 8 sacks. And it's because Karl Loftus and Chris Jones just fucking ruined his shit. Like, Mixon was good. He had the 88 and the touchdown, but like Nico Collins had 81. Schultz was very, very and it felt like this entire weekend, like the tight ends were like the fucking like as soon as like the going gets tough, like the tight ends got going and like it makes a bit of sense, but it felt like almost every team had that moment. But I do want to rewind to you, phrasing it as the net. Like,
I said it, and I'm like, fuck, I hope that slips through because that's an old school fucking
1995 call gap. Like, fucking hell.
Yep, I am old, Jim.
Do you want to jump on
to tell you?
We'll go to the cinema and watch The Net starring Sandra Bullock from 1995.
We'll go to the cinemas and
maybe we'll catch a double feature with that and Johnny Mnemonic.
Johnny Mnemonic. Hackers. But you also, when you went to, we sometimes refer to putting a couple of bucks on some of these games, Jim. You would have hated to take the over or have a multi involving DeAndre Hopkins in anything.
So Hopkins just does
one target,
didn't
trouble the scorer,
nothing. And to bash home the idea of like the actually betting on this game. So it finishes 23-14. I didn't even say that at the top. So Kansas City win this 23-14. That's a 9-point difference, guys. The line was 9.5. And where did that weird safety come from where Houston suddenly scored 2 points in the fourth quarter? Or was it right at the end and very, very squirrely?
Yeah.
Amazing gear. So some people were very upset by that. But either way, I think the weirdest part is KC just do enough, right?
Yep.
We sort of hit on this. Kelsey's incredible, 117 yards, a touchdown. It just felt like, cool, we're just going to let him fucking hang out all year on ice. Just be cool. This is what the Pats used to do with Gronk as well, right? Like just towards the end of his career, they're just like, fuck it, Gronk, when we need you, we'll call on you and it'll be okay. Yep. And he's like, not a problem, boss. And you're like, all right. And then Kelsey's the same basically at this point. And 117 yards is just taking the piss. He was awesome. But Mahomes is now 11-2 at home in the playoffs. 16-3 overall, which is fucking ridiculous. 42 fucking touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Just, it's not bad. And that's kind of the frustrating thing about like the flopping and like the fucking foul baiting. You don't need to do it.
Necessary.
Like, you're that good. Anyway, good stuff. KC, they just keep doing it.
Yep.
Pour one out for the Texans. Washington 45, Detroit 31. Ruh-roh. What a win. I was watching this in a pub in Bacchus Smash. It was amazing. I watched the first half on my phone and then I was watching the rest of it in a pub in Bacchus Smash and was just losing track of like the scoring plays. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? This is incredible. They became the first team in NFL history, the Lions, to lose a game when having 300 plus passing and 200 plus rushing yards. Like, what more can you do? But, not give the ball away 4 times is probably the answer.
That's the key. I think the narrative that's been floating around the net, Jim, has all been about.
Can we go surfing on the net? I'll open up
the World Wide Web.
Let's go.
www. The defense, the defensive holes and the defensive injuries finally got the best of them. Yada yada. Jaden Daniels doesn't turn. Jalen, I've said it again. Jaden Daniels just doesn't turn the ball over. These 2 touchdowns, 2 to Brian Robinson, and you're like, the holes in the defense. And I would challenge that by adding 3 interceptions to Goff a fumble to Goff, and Jameson Williams throwing the most inadvised fucking trick play pass that you're like, no, you're already down. Right, I get that you guys run trick plays and some of them are very, very fucking cool, but he is not a passer and threw where the defender had the best position the entire way through.
So as soon as this was happening, I'm like, I was going to have this in Old Mate No Mates as well, but I actually forgot to write it down. Doesn't it feel like this was just Ben Johnson padding his resume at that point, going, this is going to make me an extra $10 million if I pull this off? Like over the course of my contract, if I actually get this right, that's going to be an extra fucking like 7 zeros on my shit. Like it's going to be awesome. Check this. Oh, fuck. Right? It was such a, like he threw his log on the table and then like the missus laughed at it. She's like, not today. Like, what are you doing? Like that is just, it was so brutal and so dumb to sort of like put your sort of playoff fate in the hands of Jameson Williams as a passer. Like it just made no fucking sense. Like it was bizarre. Because he had that awesome run earlier, but other than
I was going to say, it had been that long before that, and you're like, oh, fucking here we go. And that was on, a trick play as well. And then you're just like, when you're down, I get it when they run those things, when they're putting their foot down and just keeping the defense like already tight, concerned, fuck, what are they going to do next? But they were trailing at this point, as they were most of the game, let's be honest. But as it came up towards the end of that, at the end of the third, and you're going, oh, the only people who scored in the third were the Lions. I'm like, fuck. They were just keeping it at 10 points, and you're like, all right, this is it. The narrative at the end of this game is either going to be, holy fuck, Washington blew like what seemed to be like three quarters of the game. They were the better team. They've blown this crazy lead and look at what the Lions have done. Or, holy fuck, I can't believe they got bundled out by a rookie. And here we are, right?
It was insane. Gibbs, massive, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns, 70 receiving as well. Amon Ra, 137. But I'll tell you what, the most annoying thing, and again, the betting, whatever, but I'd nailed like a bunch of this, like especially the Gibbs receiving. I'm like, there's going to be a shit. He's going to get plenty of work. They're not going to like do too much with Montgomery. Comes back from injury, had 7 carries for 28 yards. Gibbs will get like the vast majority of this. Touchdown, laughing. 2 touchdown scorer, off we go. Over 80 yards, that all hits. The worst one was I was all over Amon Ra as well, feeling great. And then that last drive, as Goff is like, basically just padding the stats, just trying to get him close again. He's just throwing to Amon Ra time and time and time again. And I'm like, this is it. The last one in this huge, big fucking multi. Let's go, Jim. Come on. Goff throws a fucking interception and just breaks my heart. It's like all I need was the touchdown for Amon Ra, killing me. But Jameson Williams, he hit that seam. He's gone for a 61-yard touchdown. That might have been play. Like, it's the thing that put the confidence in his brain. And it's just like, oh, now you screwed it. But I think more than anything, just the defense for the Lions, right? It was just too banged up. They just couldn't ever sort of stop the commies from doing kind of what they wanted. And you give like the Lions maybe 2 of their dudes back. Maybe. Like they've got a shot. But it just felt like 1 or 2 dudes too short at all times. And that's just the injuries across the fucking season just really coming home to roost. And it felt like as well, like when they got past the Vikings and the Rams as well, when they got past the Vikings, you're like, oh, the defense, they're fine. And then both those defenses got their ass kicked this week. So maybe the Vikings were just fucking shit, Gaz. Just saying. Oh. Anyway, on top of that, commies, Brian Robinson, 2 touchdowns, 77 yards. Jaden Daniels throws for 299, a couple of touchdowns as well. Ran for 51. That was pretty great because if you had him at 50, like I did, that's awesome. But Scary Terry, 87 and an awesome touchdown. He was fantastic. Diami Brown, though. Playoff Diami? He was unreal last week. He was unreal this week. He had 98 yards. It was unreal. And Ertz.
There was the bulletin board material that came out during the week of a quote from a couple of years ago from Amon Ra saying that that the Commanders had passed on him to take Brown.
Oh.
And so that he was, I'll remember that when we're standing at opposite sidelines. And yeah, he wasn't on the victory side.
Still,
but there was also that it's. I think the other one in terms of comparing games that came out was the hit that Goff took that sent him into the concussion protocol versus that it wasn't called versus some of the soft ones that were called on Mahomes. It's just added more to that kind of narrative.
It also meant that we got Teddy Bridgewater, noted high school football coach.
That was sick. I was like, Matty O and I were kind of like going off. I'm like, who's their backup quarterback again? And he's like, Teddy, like fucking 2 gloves. And everyone else who was at the table was like, what the fuck are you guys excited about? I'm like, it's Teddy 2 gloves. He was a high school coach weeks ago.
Like literally a month and a half ago, he was coaching high school football, and now he's like the fucking QB for the Detroit Lions at home in a playoff game. It was insane.
Yeah.
But this game, like, not to shit on it like too much and like just crap on the Lions, this game was fucking awesome. Like, it rocked. Yeah. Like, it was 45-31. It was chaos from start to finish. And it was like wildly entertaining. And the cool thing is we then got another 2 games on Monday that were almost as entertaining as well. So,
yeah, I mean, the score, the conversation about the joking conversation was that this game's got to be full of bombs and not a single punt. And Jim, there were no punts.
It's insane. Granted,
there was a lot of the Lions turning the fucking ball over. But apart from that, you're like, well, fuck. All
right. Monday morning, Rams 22, Eagles fly, 28. Unbelievable game. How much were you shitting yourself down the stretch there, Gaz?
Yeah, look, I 100% was, Jim. I'm not afraid to say it. And an unsurprising turn of events after the conversations about AJ Brown reading a book on the sidelines that Jalen Hurts is fucking cooked and can't pass the ball, and the Eagles came out throwing in an unsurprising turn of events and moved the ball pretty well, but it was actually Jalen Hurts busting through a 40-yard touchdown that opened the scoring. But unfortunately, fucking Matt Stafford still got some receivers back there and marched straight down the field. Because Jake Elliott missed the field goal, missed the extra point, which was 1-2 that he missed that fucking... The Rams ended up with the lead. And then there was a bit of back and forward. Then we got the first of this guy called Saquon Barkley. And a line just opened up, like the line opened up a hole and he went untouched. 60 yards in his first touchdown.
It's worth pointing as well, both these games on the Monday were in snow.
Yeah, so the first half, the snow didn't kick in until halfway through the second quarter, and that's why the teams were passing so heavily at the beginning of the game. Like, everyone knew that just before the halftime, it was due to kick in around 4:00 Philly time. So yeah, everyone was like, "Fucking hell, let's get this going." But the best thing about the first Saquon touchdown is the only player to be chasing him was Verse, the rookie who'd come out during the week and said, "I hate the Philly crowd. Every time I see green and white, it just makes me angry." And of course, bulletin board material when you're playing away. So that was great. And then there was a lot of nothing in the middle of the game because the snow started to kick in. People were starting to lose their footing. The long passes started to get fewer and far between, and where they were targeting Smitty and AJ, that stopped happening and started to be shorter passes to guys like Goddard over the middle and Kyron Williams, like trying to get Kyron going for the Rams. And then it came down to, in the third quarter when the snow came in, Jalen Carter was the biggest impact. Had a couple of sacks and was in Matt Stafford's face. And a couple of fumbles that they generated, and all of a sudden, a couple of field goals is all we got from it until there was another single play, 78-yard rushing touchdown to Saquon, but another missed field goal, Jim. So there was only 13 points difference. And then you get playoff Matt Stafford and this guy called Puka Nacua. And the problem was that when you've got Stafford in passing mode, in the snow, Jim, it makes it really hard for defensive backs to follow a really good receiver and they just moved down the field and scored a fucking what was a very, very easy touchdown. They just marched straight down there and got the ball back with 2 minutes to go. And as you said, 2 minutes to go, down by 6, Matt Stafford. I'm like, oh, fuck, here's another hero moment where in the snow, he's going to turn that away. But yeah, Jalen Carter got in his face and ended up turnover on downs, and the boys got to sit on the ball. So
amazing.
It was a fucking stressful game. Those snow games are fucking epic. Considering how everyone was sliding around, the defensive line for the Rams was fucking awesome. I think they worked away with 7 sacks and 5 to the Eagles. But to be able to do that in the snow while you're trying to grip and all that sort of stuff was it was pretty high quality game in trying conditions for both teams.
But it was also amazing because of those conditions. Like people going,
yeah,
oh, it's just not fair to be playing football like this. No, that's the entire fucking point of having home field advantage.
Yeah.
Like the Rams don't want to be playing that game, right?
No.
They just don't. They live in LA. It's colder and shit in Philly. You're the home team. This is your home crowd. It's your field. You're at least accustomed to the conditions. That's an advantage. That's why you play the fucking regular season. That's why you end up with a higher seed than the opposition. That's home field advantage. I love this shit because the
100%.
same thing happened with Buffalo, right? Like Baltimore just as accustomed, but by the same token, if you played this in LA, like there's probably not a fucking scary doubt in my brain that the Rams probably would have won that game.
Yeah.
Like
it's really weird because there's obviously those comparisons about would they have taken it? Well, you know what? The second half, maybe the cornerbacks don't have as bigger issue.
Yeah.
Maybe Saquon takes over more earlier. The narrative had always been that Matt Stafford plays horribly in wet conditions. So there was actually that before the game, they were saying, we really hope when it starts snowing, it's dry and it's cold and it makes the ball heavy, but as long as it's not fucking wet and slippery.
Yep.
So there's all of these sort of things you're like, oh, what if? But, that's everyone got to play the same conditions. Same as going back to a couple of years ago in the Super Bowl where everyone's whinging about the surface, including Eagles fans. But guess what? Both teams played in the same conditions.
The fucking Super Bowl grass. I love that. I guess, yeah, like AJ Brown had that drop basically in the end zone as well. That was pretty hardcore, but like he was targeted 7 times for his 2 catches. It was just fucking hard out there. But it was amazing and it looked unreal. Great game. Very fun. We'll talk about this again in a second. Finally, Baltimore 25, Buffalo 27. What a game. Talk about games that fucking rocked. This game fucking rocked. The stakes for it were the fact that the Bills got 77 wins over the last 6 years, including the playoffs. That'd be the most by any team in a 6-season span without going to the Super Bowl ever. And the same thing goes with the Ravens. They're at 71 over the last 6 years. That's tied most in such a year, such a span as not making a Super Bowl as well. So you've got the 2 MVP candidates. Everything's kind of riding on them. And you're like, this matchup is going to fucking rule. And it did.
Yep.
And the best thing, I guess, if you're a Bills fan, is that your dude didn't fuck up and the other dude did. That's basically what it came down to, right? Like Ravens score on the first drive, which is pretty funny because it's exactly what happened the week before against Denver for Buffalo. But then Josh Allen, a couple of rushing touchdowns. Lamar has 2 turnovers. Like that was kind of the big difference in the first half. Josh Allen was like just trucking dudes into the end zone and Lamar turning the ball over. And it just sort of gave them enough of a buffer that when Baltimore came at them hard in the second half, the 2 other fuck-ups that they then had from Mark Andrews basically cost them the game.
100%. The fact that even with all of those turnovers, the fact that they were still in it was wild.
Yeah.
Right? That last quarter, like Lamar came, as you said, came at them hard. They didn't get as much out of Henry, particularly early in the game, as you would have kind of expected, but Lamar was just moving the ball in that last quarter with ease. And it was honestly those 2 of all the people. Andrews had I guess a section in the middle of the year where he had really down patch and likely kind of almost took over when he had niggling injuries.
Then he bounced back and he was awesome.
Sorry?
Then he bounced back and he was awesome though.
He was kind fucking of the crazy amazing. Part. And this, as you said, look, when you've got the weather the way it is, a tough dude who can block and then catch and then truck dudes is where you want to be going. You don't want to be the streaking wide receiver throwing a ball in the snow that's going to be caught by the wind and all that sort of stuff. So the tight ends definitely took over in these games, and unfortunately, two massive fucking issues being the fumble and
the fumble, the strip, like the sort of fumble, drop, strip, whatever you want to call it. In the fourth quarter, 8 minutes to go, down 5. You're just like,
and
brutal.
moving the ball. Like it was on a 20, 30-yard pass that if he'd just gone down rather than pushing for those extra yards.
And it is pretty funny. People go, who do you think you are? Like, you some sort of athlete. It's like, he just fucking turned. He was going to try to get some yards. Yes, you can probably just go down as soon as you fucking caught it, but
that's not what he does. It's not what you're not going to tell Gronk to go down. You're not going to tell Kelsey to go down. You're not going to tell Dallas Goedert to go down. You're not going to tell Kittle to go down. Yep. They're bigger than most of the defensive backs that they're on. So fuck them.
But then Baltimore score again with less than 2 minutes to go. You've got this last score with 2 minutes to go by the Ravens as well. They go for 2. Mark Andrews just kind of drops it in the 2-point conversion.
Open and dropped. Yep.
Just kind of falling the wrong way. But there was an amazing one earlier, right? When the Ravens went for 2, it was 21-19. And old mate had wandered into the lounge room where I was watching at this point. And they're going for it. I'm like, ooh, just watch. He's like, Matt Milano is just like sort of faked up to the line and then sort of faked like he was going to go after and blitz and then sort of drop back and tip the pass. It was fucking incredible defensive work. Yep. And like, I was very impressed with myself for spotting him doing shit. And old mate's like, oh, wow, how did you know he was going to do that? I'm like, I didn't fucking know he was going to do it. He was going to do something. It was going to be cool. It was going to be fucking sick. He was either going to get after Lamar or he was going to drop back and do something fucking crazy. And he did. And like, it's those sort of little bits and bobs that just matter in a game like that, right? Like just stopping that 2-point conversion changes the entire fucking complexion of the game to the point where later on, if you have a Andrews drop and then an Andrews fumble, you can win because of it. So it was a weird one. Henry only has the 84 yards on 16 carries. And it felt like they didn't want to really just go too Henry heavy, but they're trying to sort of balance it out. And like Likely had 73 yards, Bateman had 66, Andrews 61. Like they were moving the ball. Just didn't feel like they kind of asserted themselves almost on the game, right? Like they really stamped themselves between he and Lamar. Lamar ends up with 39. It wasn't quite the 1-2 punch. And that's almost always how it goes with Baltimore in like these playoff losses, right? It's like you've been doing the thing that works all the time, and then you get to like this weird crunch point in the playoffs, and you just don't do it almost every time. And you go, oh, how did we lose? Like we didn't do the thing that you always fucking do, you idiots. Like what are you doing? But bit of a tough one. Meanwhile, Buffalo, really good. Cook,
moving on.
Cook, Handy, Shakir. Well, that was it. I mean, Shakir was like their only receiver who did anything, right? 67. Like next one was actually Cook as well with 15 yards. So I don't know.
Josh Allen, just as you said, you mentioned earlier, just trucking dudes into the end zone. You're like,
big difference. So it was like it was a weird one because this was like not as snowy as the Philly game, but it looked like it was actually icier and slipperier up there. So it was a little bit more fraught, and it was kind of weird that Baltimore didn't just really ground and pound and kick their ass. So there you go. Dunskies, Buffalo through to face KC. So let's do some nahs, guys, as a result of the divisional round. Disappointing end for Detroit. Nah.
I thought was supposed to be like questions that have the answers that could go either way.
The 15-2 1 seed who's like the first time they've ever been a 1 seed, they lose their first fucking playoff game at home.
Well, how ironic does that Dan Campbell to the whole to Kevin O'Connell going, see you in 2 weeks.
Not at all.
Now fucking they would have been stoked when the Vikes got knocked out, and all of a sudden they're playing the Commies, and fucking hell. But all right, when we're talking about the disappointment, the Chiefs showed that resting dudes not a problem.
Yeah, rest as Russ got put to bed, I think, by the Chiefs. But that's what they always do. So, I mean, the flip side of this Detroit thing, though, do you buy Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn were too busy thinking about their next gigs, and that's why the Lions weren't prepared for the commies vibe? Yeah, no.
Nah, look, there's a couple of situations where where things come out after the fact that you go, oh, yeah, you might have been fucked in that process. When it comes to the Lions, they had the week off, and there's somewhat regulations about who and when and what can be done. I think there was a bit of concern with some of the others. So, it's the what's his name, about Kellen Moore being interviewed this week by the Cowboys. And then you go back to, I don't want to touch on the Eagles and fucking Gannon, right? When he went to Arizona, it was like, no, I'm not interested. I'm not involved. And then the moment we lose the Super Bowl, he signs on to Arizona, and we find out that the interviews were going on during that process. And you're like, well, fucking come on, man. Right. Look, I wouldn't be against, I don't think for 90% of the situations that it does affect you, but I definitely wouldn't be against the league just going, you know what, let's just blanket wait until the Super Bowl's over.
Coaching moratorium.
And then that's it. And then it just happens. We all know that there's going to be conversations going on, particularly, if outside the, people who don't have a job coming from college, blah, blah, if they want to have a conversation and pay Bill Belichick the $10 million or whatever it is to get out of his contract to bring him back in, that's one thing. But if you want an existing coach or a current coach of a playoff team, there's a moratorium till the end.
Yeah,
if you can wait, well, you can wait.
I don't think it's probably affecting them at all, but I do find it weird that it feels like almost every year when someone has like a disappointing sort of finish to their season, and they've got like an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator who is like a, favored name for a head coaching gig, it does feel like they tend to lose a lot more often. And it's probably not because they're thinking, oh God, how am I going to coach like the fucking Bears next year? Like that's what their agents are there for, their managers and shit, right? Like that's what their fucking job is. But it is weird that almost every time when there's a bit of a shitty playoff exit and you lose your coordinators, whatever, they already sort of one foot out the door, just leaves a bad taste, I think. But anyway.
Yeah, and it also depends on the nature of the organization too, right? So if you look at, let's say the Chiefs who've gone from, Bieniemy and Nagy and all of that sort of stuff, but it's always been Andy Reid's offense, and Andy Reid calls his own plays. So it's like, you know what?
Yeah,
you're effectively my babysitter.
Yeah,
fuck off to your next team.
And like but that is a big difference because Spags has just stayed there as the D coordinator, right? And like he just hasn't 100%. Gone anywhere, and that defense has been fucking amazing because of it. So makes a big difference. I mean, do you buy into the idea though? You've just dealt with this, right? With Philly, it's just super hard to get back to that position of like dominance, right? When you lose both coordinators. Yeah,
and we went with what we thought was a bit of a novel choice last year, and on the inexperience at the offensive coordinator was a shit show, and we became stale. And then the defense became a shit show, and then we moved it on. We fired mid-season. We bought in your mate, fucking Matt Patricia, and there was all of this other fucking weird and wonderful shit. But that's after we'd, Steichen and Gannon had come in with Sriracha, and then so all of a sudden you're in a massive change. And the same thing goes back to when we won the Super Bowl. Well, it's common with Super Bowl winning teams. When we did it with we lost Shane Steichen, no, Frank Reich, and who was the defensive coordinator? Oh my God, I've gone blank at the Browns now.
Stefanski.
Nope.
No, that's Cincy, isn't it? Fucking hell. Zach Taylor.
No.
I'm like, hang on a second. I'm just naming coaches now. This is great.
Yeah, no. Defensive coordinator now for the Browns, Jim Schwartz.
Schwartz
who played that super aggressive defense. When you lose someone like Frank Reich, you still soon start to work out, well, was it Dougie P or was it Frankie Reich?
Yep.
And it's a nice nucleus and a combination of all of the above. So people just assume that you can pull something out of that place and put it in and it'll all be fine. But once again, you get to these points where if they haven't been there's some coaches who are just coordinators, right? Who don't know how to manage the other side of the ball. Or maybe they've never called plays in their life, right? Bieniemy, when he went to fucking the commies, was supposed to be, kind of assumed going to be the heir apparent to step up if Ron Rivera failed, and then by the time the offense was fucked as well, right? So clean house and come back to fight another day.
Nice one. Good point.
But it's interesting that Nagy's back on the heavily discussed among some of these circles. He didn't have a great time at the Bears. He made the playoffs in their first season. But once again, you're sitting under Andy Reid, and that coaching tree is pretty fucking good.
It's a weird one because, like, you look at Dan Quinn, and when the commies hired him, you're kind of like, I'm not entirely, like, inspired by this decision. But Dan Quinn had gotten a team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, he had been successful. Like, that's kind of the thing when you look at, Matt Nagy, you're like, yeah, but he was shit.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs. Yeah, got their heads kicked in. Like, fucking whatever. Like, I don't think your teams are good. And then you got ran out of town because everyone fucking hated you. So, anyway.
And that's why it's weird when, like, Arthur Smith's back in conversations.
Bizarre.
Like, calm the fuck down. He sucked at Atlanta. That offense was gross. And then he's gone over to the Steelers, and they're not much better in terms of an exciting offense.
I love the I love the excuses for that as well. Oh, yeah, but look at Arthur Smith's quarterbacks. It's like, yeah, and he didn't make him any fucking better.
No.
Like, what are we doing? Anyway, the Texans, were they just making up numbers again? I.e., will they ever win a playoff game? Or make it through the divisional round, rather? Because they've never made it past the divisional round. 0-6. I think they're the only team not to make a title game, which is crazy. Yeah, no.
It's really weird because, D'Amico Ryan's that defensive coach. We thought that they were ahead of schedule last year, and we're like, God, well, this is the year that they're going to step up and blah, blah. And it was some wild inconsistencies and, fuckiness, as we said, throughout the entire season. And then they kind of got taken advantage of, that defense in certain areas. Yeah, there was some injuries and things like that, and Tank Dell going out when he did wasn't amazing. But we thought, if you go back to the beginning of the year, we thought, well, Joe Mixon's going to be that piece. Like, they were missing at running back. This is going to be the thing. And then there just seems to be this ceiling, right, that they're sitting at the moment. I think they'll get there. We're still, I think, taking some liberties with the expectations that we've got with CJ Stroud in his second year, when the teams have some tape on him now. Like, a lot of difference between what you see on tape in college and playing against these defenses in the NFL. But yeah, look, you'd like to think so, but yeah, they're playing in a division they can definitely take advantage of, that are going to be some fucky teams for the next couple of years.
I just kind of feel like, they copped a down year after, like, compared to expectations, but, like, they still won a fucking playoff game. So not a bad down year.
That no one expected them to win, to be fair.
Speaking of which, LA Rams, overachieving season? Yeah, nah.
Yeah, they won something fucking crazy in terms of, was it 8 of the last 9 before, including the playoffs? Once they got healthy,
insane.
Which is a crazy run home. But the biggest question for them now is, Stafford has mentioned that he's going to take his time before he mentions works out what happens next year. So if he does retire, that's a bad place to be, making the playoffs.
Yep.
Not having high draft picks, a young, aggressive defense that's going to be around for years to come. But fuck, the most important position.
I don't know. We basically retired Stafford 2 years ago, and, like, they've come back and they've been awesome. So
if you had that many kids, would you want to be sitting at home all the time?
Fuck no. I got 2. We shipped one off to mum and dad's this week. And I'm still like, wow, 1 is easy. This is unreal. And even he today was a pain in the ass. I'm like, this fucking sucks. What are we doing? Anyway, the Ravens, can we blame Lamar yet? Yeah, nah.
That's the horrible, horrible thing. Like, there's the the high risk, high reward nature of those sort of quarterbacks, right? The scrambling quarterback will always take more sacks, will always likely fumble the ball more because they're looking to both run and pass. So they're swinging the ball around a bit more. It's harder for the offensive line because all of a sudden, rather than a stationary quarterback, like I say, a Matt Stafford, where they know where he is, all of a sudden, Lamar's kicking out here and you're pushing a defender into him kind of shit. Or, high turnover, high sack rate, all that sort of stuff. But when they get it right, like, unstoppable.
Yeah,
as we've seen.
He's also the only reason they're in that game for a lot of it.
100%. So. 100%. I think what's happened in the last couple of years is he's also stepped up his passing game as well. Like, some of the way he was hitting Bateman and things like that, and Flowers before he went down, was purely amazing. But you are gonna have to overcome these turnovers. He had gone through a nice little patch without turnovers this year, and that's the difference with what's happened with Allen, right? He, as we said, didn't fuck up this, but what you don't expect is this is gonna be known as another lost playoff game by Lamar
and
him choking.
Can't get it done.
Whereas they were in contact right up until Andrews. You can't just blame Andrews, more than 2 plays, but fuck, it definitely helped.
Yep. I think it's whoever lost this game, it was always going to be shit, right? For Lamar or Josh Allen. You're just like, I can't get it done in the playoffs. It's like, I don't know if that's fair. Like, Lamar was that fucking good this year. It didn't really matter, but oof, yeah. Anyway, good bloke of the week. Who are we buying a beer? George Karlaftis. He basically won the Chiefs that game, I reckon.
Yep.
Like, as I was watching, I'm like, this is just absurd how good he is. And then basically ices the game at the end. Travis Kelce, he's now got the record for most 100-yard receiving games in the playoffs, which is pretty good, like all time. So, I don't know. That's history. So, pretty good. Ahead of Jerry Rice. I'm just saying. Josh Allen going straight to Lamar after the game. That's just, you could have put money on that. Oh, it's just good sportsmanship, guys. Good sportsmanship, which is amazing. And the other good bloke of the week, Caitlin Clark. Good box to be in. Taylor Swift's.
Yeah.
All right, flog of the week.
Hang on. Like, let's pause this. What? So she's a good bloke of the week and gets a beer because she got an invite to the good box.
I reckon she just bought some awesome vibes. Now, I've got some thoughts from Caitlin Clark when it comes to the NBA, and how she might have ruined Tyrese Halliburton's career. But either way,
but all of it, you've thrown out stats and given it to Kelce, but you don't mention at all Saquon's 260-yard touchdowns, the fact that he's one of the only, I think, 2 running backs in the league to have a 200-yard game in the regular season and a 200-yard game. He's still possible to have the highest rushing record of regular season and like total season.
Yep.
He doesn't even get a fucking mention, mate.
He should get a beer actually, just for the bit at the end where he turned to Jalen Hurts is like, I'm just going to do this one.
I got this.
I've got this one. Just give it to me. I'll sort this one out. It was amazing.
So, all right. So, now that I meant to add, but does the 100 yards last week and the 200 yards this week, does that validate not going for the record and resting in week 18?
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah. Because if
you make any other way,
if you make the soupy, like no one cares, right? Like,
exactly.
He didn't get the fucking record. It's like, you made the Super Bowl probably because of that. So. But Caitlin Clark as well, I just did appreciate that. Apparently, I love that one. It's like, she's actually a lifetime like KC fan. It's like, is she? Cool.
What's
she's from fucking anyway. Good times, great memories. But her and Tay hanging out, that was pretty nice. Flog of the week, old mate, no mates. Obviously, Mark Andrews. That's just, it feels unfair, but it's so easy to pinpoint those 2 moments of just like, dude, brutal.
I know he messaged you straight away going, well, this week's sorted.
Yeah, it was hardcore. Chris Boyd, so he was the bloke on the Texans sideline after the very start of that game where they gave up a
that was fucking weird
64-yard punt return. He's the guy who brought him down, runs off celebrating or angry, I don't know, and then shoves his fucking special teams coach to the ground. Also, old mate, no mates, That special teams coach, what are you doing getting shoved to the ground, you pussy? Frank Ross, get a hold of yourself. He's a weird-looking cat as well. He's the most American-looking like special teams coach I reckon I've ever seen. Frank Ross, go have a look at him. But he got a penalty as well. Did that fucking idiot, Chris Boyd. So they got a 15-yard penalty for throwing his helmet before he got off the fucking field.
Yep.
What? He was like angry, celebrating. Who fucking knows? Either way, you idiot. You gave up a 63 fucking yard punt return. They kept him to a field goal, which is remarkable, but yeah, then shoves his fucking coach down. Like, what are you doing? That's a tough one to come back from.
I'll sneak in a couple before you finish your end too. I got a couple this week. One is Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones.
Who's sitting there this week.
Goddamn.
He's left it too late and he's now behind the 8 ball in terms of the coaching to decide on McCarthy. He's just watched Kellen Moore, who he sacked, take a team to the Super Bowl, to the championship game. And then he's also watched his former head coach in his first year when they could have got rid of McCarthy and promoted Quinn, take a rookie and that defense to the championship game. And the key thing is there, Washington went heavy on a whole bunch of veterans that everyone else didn't want in free agency while the Cowboys sat there and did nothing.
Yep.
And he's still got to work out how to pay Micah and get a wide receiver opposite CD. Like,
I guess
crazy.
We could actually do that, I guess, for the Commanders. Like buy them a beer, like the entire fan base. Like, they get rid of Dan Snyder.
Yep.
They bring in Dan Quinn. He beats Dan Campbell. That's just like a fucking train to dance. What's going on?
Yeah.
Where's Dan Andrews? Get him on the blower. He'll get him the CCP on your ass as well. But like the way the commies went about it, like around Jaden Daniels, they just did it the right way and buy him a beer because he's fucking fantastic. Like the poise that he was showing in that game was remarkable. And
it was crazy.
I loved it. Good on him.
I liked it from so going back a week when they kicked the field goal to win the first playoff game. Like Jaden Daniels, like he actually is sitting on the bench and he almost doesn't react at all for like 20, 30 seconds after they've won the game. And then he smiles and gets up and you're like, oh, fuck, you're actually just pretty cool. Yeah. You're just all right. The other one that I want to add is while we've done you've done the commies and we've done the Cowboys, the Giants have gone through it this week. They've really, really fucking gone through it with Saquon. What made it worse with that game is Daniel Jones was sitting in Saquon's box cheering on his mate.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then on the other side, obviously last year, Tommy DeVito won a few meaningless games, which dropped them down the draft order, and they missed out on Daniels.
True.
Big where the fan base was going, we should go after Daniels. And there's clips showing up of the front office, that whole the Hard Knocks thing and some of those clips where I think it was Sean's son was saying, we should go after Daniels. And all of that's resurfacing this week. So they're going through it because they're down the bottom with, it's going to take a lot of building on the way up. And
But Washington proved that it's possible. Like, that's kind of the thing. What were they, 4-13 last year, and they turn around 14 wins?
Something like the 32 ranked defense or something like that. And then all of a sudden, fucking crazy. I'll hate them at the end of the week, but for right now, I'm celebrating as both causing pain to our other division rivals.
Other old mate, no mates, obviously Jameson Williams and Patrick Mahomes, because this is just the Outback Takehouse as well. NFL is rigged for the Chiefs, clearly. I don't know about you guys, but I saw photos of Patrick Mahomes kissing the refs. Like, how can they get away with this?
100%. And there's another one of like Andy Reid on his knees on the sidelines.
Can I say AI is fucked. Like, it's fucked. It's ruined it. It's going to ruin everything. And I'm fucking like, it's a bit of an old mate, no mates for Patrick Mahomes because like, you can say it's rigged for the Chiefs. The fucking bullshit calls that he was getting, like the worm turning on his popularity is pretty fucking funny to watch in real time. AI then jumping on it where he's, macking out with like fucking these, various refs, which is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you
It's
went
just a
through it,
hard one.
right? Like the tuck game,
The tuck game,
those
like-
sort of things, and it was all like, they love Brady so much they're
Then-
changing the rules for him.
Then
you know,
Spygate happens, and then it turns completely the opposite way.
100%. And then Deflate Gate, there was him and Brady's balls and all this sort of stuff. And
Jiu-jitsu coordinators. I don't know.
that's it. It turns from the underdog to the holy
Everybody-
fuck, this guy.
Everybody
Everyone wants
fucking
him.
hates us. They hate us because they ain't us.
Yeah.
Little Aussie Battler of the Week. Obviously, Daniel Fa'alele is done, so we've only got Jordan Mailata left, which is pretty good because, it's on your
pretty
team
good.
there, Gaz.
Yeah.
Doing a good job. That's it, though. Let's do some picks. So, we do a quick wrapper last week because your mate Jim brought it back a little bit.
Didn't we? I thought didn't we split all four?
No, I checked it, and it turns out 3-1 to Jim. I thought we'd split it too.
How did
But I
that
think
work
one
out?
of
What
them
was-
slipped under was 6.5 and was a 6-point line. So managed to pull that one out my ass.
There you go. So you've come back by one. You only owe me like 18 beers now.
It's 10 beers now. So pull that one back. But I actually, with my picks from last week as underdog Jim, as the champion of the underdog here, would have gone 4-4 with the way that all of the lines actually finished up, I think. So pretty good. But we have 2 remaining. We've only got 3 games of football left this season, guys. Bit worrisome. This is why during the season I keep bringing up, week 6. What a fucking great week this is, because when it's all coming to shit, you forget about week 6. When you've just got a million games coming out your ass and you're like, yes, I love the NFL. Now we've got 3 games left the entire fucking season. So the first one is at 7 a.m. on Monday. Washington at Philly, and your Fly Eagles Fly Gas. 5.5-point favorites. I can't believe it says here that you're taking Washington, though.
That seems like a lot, Jim.
It does.
It seems like a lot. Remembering that this is Jaden Daniels turned over the ball like 5 times or something in the last game, but still put up 36 points. Right? Don't get me wrong. I think this defense will, Vic Fangio will have taken that personally, and we'll see if Quinyon Mitchell, who went out in the first quarter, if he can come back. And it will be in winter. But this is also the first game where we took care of them mighty handily. This is a different Washington team. You've got Eckler back, who's been doing really well. There's a better connection between Daniels and Scary Terry. I just feel like it's a lot. So even if we did scrape over the line, I feel like this being tight. And what really worries me is we lost 5 points this week off Jake Elliott's boot, which is a way too common a problem to be occurring in the championship game. So also when you consider we don't know the status of Hurt's knee.
So you beat them 26-18 at home and then lost 36-33 when you played there. Yep. This game is, of course, at home. You're going Washington. I think this is a tough one for Washington. I think this is the happy to be there game. And I think Philly kick the shit out of them. And it's just a bit of a, oh God, Jalen Hurts is now 2 weeks off his concussion. And feeling much better, and actually throws the ball a little bit, and they just kind of stomp the commies, who I fucking love. But I think this defensive front of yours against that commies front line is a much tougher ask than like Detroit, right?
Yep.
From what they saw last week, I think when you're being able to run Brian Robinson, run Jaden Daniels, I think Philly are going to go, no, go on. Beat us through the edge.
I hope you're right. I very much hope you're right. Look, I put money at the beginning of the year on us winning the championship game and making it to the Super Bowl. I've already got all my NFC East multis because I picked Washington to go over and Dallas and Giants to go under and Philly to go over. So that all went nicely. And I'll be a very, very happy man around 10:30 if I lose this pick, Jim. I'm willing to take it on the chin.
Nice one. 7 a.m. It's going to be a big one.
So just on that, There's I'll be posting it on Eagles Straya and probably on NFL Straya for anyone who gives a shit. But there's going to be definitely an Eagles watch party around Melbourne. We think that the only place, it's highly likely that it'll be at Crown, because that's the only one place that we know that'll service beer and be open at 7 a.m. But yeah, stop via the Philadelphia Eagles Australia page, or Straya as we are. And then we'll be posting that. And anyone who's got championship games who want, like Washington fans, Buffalo, or KC fans around the country, can send us a message and I'll make sure we post them so you get fans along.
Dig it. There you go. So I'm going Philly. You're going Washington.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to get I'm going to get fucking flamed online when the graphic gets posted and I've gone for Washington. You know that, right?
Of course. The entire part. Like, this is why going for Philly.
I think we win by 3 points, Jim. I think we win and don't cover.
All right.
There you go.
Buffalo at KC is the other one at 10:30 on Monday morning. This is a public holiday as well, don't forget.
Yep.
It's pretty fun. So Buffalo at KC. KC are 1.5 point favorites at home. I'm taking the Bills because you've gone KC.
Your logic.
Because I've already got money on KC. I'm like, basically, fuck it. Like, I want Buffalo to win.
Yep.
Plus 1.5. Can we thread this needle? KC win by 1. We get an all-time classic. I don't know. It feels like as well, if there was ever going to be a year where Buffalo sort of pull it out of their ass, they haven't looked crazily good. Basically, the defensive injuries that they've dealt with throughout the season, their offense has been sort of sputtery at times, but they've just kept fucking winning. The same thing with KC. KC, this is institutional knowledge, is what they do. They're at home. They're in their fucking 7th straight AFC title game. But Buffalo just have to win one of these, right? They just have to at some point. So I'm going to go Buffalo.
All right. Yeah, look, you've just tied it down. The defensive line for the Chiefs is playing off its head. The passing game has been improving. I mean, 177, 75, whatever yards Mahomes had this week doesn't speak like amazingly. But they just have the ability to turn it on when they need it. So, look, I hope that I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on both of these picks, because I know that everyone will flame online. If the Super Bowl combination that the least amount of people want is Philly KC.
Well, a rematch 2 years ago.
100%.
Which you
100%.
lost in heartbreaking fashion in front of hundreds of people, which is very fun.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
We still have the Ralph Wiggum, like, you can see the exact moment when, like, Gaz's heart breaks on that live stream. It was amazing.
Yeah. I've got a bottle of Philadelphia Eagles whiskey above my head over here that I'm still waiting to crank.
There you go. Yeah. All right, I'm going Buffalo on that one, plus 1.5. Gaz has got KC minus 1.5. I'm just going opposite basically him this week as well to get back another couple of beers. But there we go. That's it. 120 episodes of NFL Straya in the bag. This has been a fun week as well. What an awesome week of football it was. I loved it. So make sure you're, making sure that you're all subscribed, following, doing all that good stuff across Facey, Twitter, IG, TikTok, which we still have in Australia, which is now back in the US apparently. And YouTube. So jump all over those. Make sure you're subscribing, liking, reviewing, starring, all that good shit. Do that for NBA Straya as well as the AFL Today Show, which is back horrifyingly soon. Cricket Today podcast. The boys are all over the BBL finals. Hold all tickets for your GGs football today as well. Rate, review, star all of those in your Apple Podcasts, your YouTube Musics, your Spotify's, all that stuff. Come on. We don't ask for anything, really, except for that. Just do it. Rate, review, and star. Big thanks always go to House Hats for the intro and outro song. They rule. Gaz, you got any plugs? Your band just played a gig.
Yeah, we did. That was the Illawarra Folk Festival this week. Was a fucking cracker. It was a bit fun. We stand out like dog's balls. Is the only punk band on the lineup. But yeah, that was heaps of fun. But now I've got no idea when we're playing again. My focus is now on a massive Super Bowl party.
That's right.
Yeah, a few weeks in KC. Yeah, in KC. And catfish. KC on the fucking brain.
Catfish with Sparrow's cheesesteaks.
Yeah,
I'll be able to eat solids this year. That's good. I haven't had any mouth surgery before a fucking Super Bowl, so that's nice. I don't have fucking stitches in my head. Touch wood. I've still got 2 weeks. Who knows what the fuck could happen, actually. Oh, the way the squids, bloody hell, they nearly gave me a concussion. One threw a tennis ball into my fucking side of my scone, and the other one punched me in the left nut. And I'm like, oh, I'm still feeling the effects. Like, why would you have kids? Just fuck. Anyway, Super Bowl party. It's going to be awesome. We're definitely not going to punch anyone in the nuts or throw tennis balls into your head. But we will be at the Catfish from very early on. I think doors, what do we do? 8:30 or 9? I can't remember. One of them.
It's usually around then.
Yep.
I think it's 8:30.
8:30.
It's usually 8:30. Yeah.
So at the Catfish for the Super Bowl Monday, February 10.
But we'll be spamming a whole bunch of shit online.
Keep an eye out.
Expect it to come out very shortly.
Nice one. All right, there you go. That is a ripper, NFL Straya. What a week it was.
Yep.
We're going to have a Super Bowl matchup to talk about next time we chat. That's fun.
Yep. Perfect.
Hopefully it's Gaz's thing. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Go Commies. All right, we'll catch you in a bit, you dickheads.
See yous.
Later, Hosen.